Hello everyone, good afternoon. How are you all? So today we are going to talk about your Companies Act 2013. Now earlier there was a Companies Act 1956, but after year 2013 there has been a few of the changes in the earlier act, and we are going to study about the new act. Even after that, in 2016 also few of the amendment took place, but still there are major changes which are being brought down in 2013 that we are going to talk about. Now before we understand the term company, we have to understand the definition of the company. Now earlier the section which was being covered in your 1956 Act, it was your section 3(1)(I), but now the section in your 2013 Act is your section 2 subsection 20. Now it defines, says a company means a corporate or means a company incorporated under this act or under any other act of your earlier act mentioned in your any of the other laws. So basically earlier there was a act which was been having cover few of the formation, that is your company formed and registered under this act and any other act which were earlier been there. Now this was, I am talking about your 1956 provision. Now but to give a simpler definition or simpler meaning towards the company, it has been very much defined by Mr. L.H. Henny. Now he says a company is nothing but an corporate association, which is an artificial person created by law, having a separate legal entity, a perpetual succession and a common seal. Now with this definition only we can further talk about what are the characteristics or the essentials of a proper company or an incorporate association or an incorporated company. When we are going to talk about your characteristics, simultaneously it can also be called to be as the advantages of your incorporation of a company. The first and the most important part is your incorporated association. Incorporated, this term means to say you are registered. Your company is always required to be registered. Until unless you have passed to the 4 stages of your incorporation of a company, you won't be allowed to carry out your activities in the company under the name of your company. That's why every company who wants to carry out their activities under the heading as a public company or a private company or guaranteed company XYZ, they have to get themselves registered. So registration of the company is very much essential. Second, when we are talking about a company, it is having a legal person or a legal separate entity, or you can also be called to be as a artificial legal person. Now similar to your human beings, even a particular company is having a separate identity as a human being. Not exactly as a human being, but yes, all these features, what are the facilities as a human you get, even the same company is getting. Now, for example, I can say we all know the big brands like Reliance, Tata, Birla, Ambuja, your McDonald's. What are these? These are nothing but the big brands which are being known because of their name. So that is something even separate from their shareholders or separate from their members or separate from their directors. We just know about their name, their brand and their recognition, and that is where why, because that was a separate legal entity. An artificial person has been created. We all must not be knowing who is working behind the tag, but still we all know that yes, there is this particular Reliance which is working as a full-fledged company, so it is having an artificial legal person. When you're talking about the incorporation, even the third part, it talks about your independent corporate personality. Now when I'm saying independent corporate personality, that means to say be it any person is there, but still the company will keep on running, keep on carrying out their activities. For that simple example I can give, in case of your Reliance, now Dhirubhai Ambani, Mr. Dhirubhai Ambani, he was the person who actually came up with this concept of your Reliance, and that's where it all been started. But now he is no more, but still his brand name, that is your Reliance, is still being continued. So that is what it is all about, your independent corporate personality. Example just now I discussed with you people that was relevant to your perpetual succession. Now let's talk about the next one, that is hold and dispose of the property. Now this is one of the biggest advantage for the company, that they can hold and dispose of the property. Unlike your sole proprietor, or in case of your HUF or a partnership, the company can hold the property in the company's name and they can dispose it off as and when they want. And at the same time, the property of the company cannot be treated as the member's property and vice versa. So that is also one of the thing which can prove that there is a kind of differentiation between the your company and an individual members in the company. Next is your transferability of shares. Now the shares are easily transferable subject to certain condition as and when what type of shares you are holding. So this is between the public company and a private company, where it is easily transferable compared to the any other type of formation. Common seal. A company is an artificial person, which we had already discussed about in the earlier point of your artificial legal person. So with no physical existence, it can act, or it can go through the directions through as of the on behalf of the company. The directors can act on behalf of the company and enter into the contracts. And last but not the least, they may sue or be sued. A company having its own independent existence can sue in its name to enforce any of the statutory or contractual rights and be sued in its other's name. So that means to say, an employee not getting a salary from the company, he can sue the company, or a company similarly not finding the employees capable enough, they can also sue the employee if he is not working properly, or he has done some sort of your fraudulent activity. Now, we have just now discussed about the advantages. Now we are going to talk about your disadvantages of the incorporation. There are 3 disadvantages majorly: excessive formalities and expenses, corporate veil, and company is not a citizen. Now first is your company is having excessive formalities and expenses. So when a person is not having that much of capable of the capital, in that case it is having a very much high expenditure as compared to a sole proprietor or a partnership. And even the incorporation formalities or the procedure which we have to go through while incorporating the company, that is also very much high. So that is one of the disadvantages. Second part, lifting of corporate veil, or you can say a corporate veil. See, no doubt a company is having its own identity as an artificial legal person, but still there is one thing where each and every activity done by the human, that is, it can be done by your directors, or it can be done by your employees, or any other person relevant to the working in the company, can be the person who must have done any fraud or something, but still in that case company will be held liable and company will have to pay the penalties or the damages for the same. So there is this clause of your corporate veil. Until and unless that particular corporate veil will be lifted, you will not be able to realize or recognize who is the person who is actually behind to do all such kind of fraud and all. So this is very much important. Each activities in the company are the liability of the company itself. And last part is a company is not a citizen. Now this is very important for you to understand. Company is not a citizen. No doubt it is having a separate identity, but it is not a citizen. So that's why the company is never getting a voting right and all. As equivalent to a human is going to have much more priority as compared to a company. So that's why they are not getting the right to vote. Now, I just wanted to highlight over the corporate veil. Now this corporate veil, can be a kind of a advantage position also, because this is one of the feature of the incorporation of the company, which gives a kind of advantage to the company. Each time if any other person is doing something wrong in the name of the company, they can lift the corporate veil. Now veil, it is a term which is equivalent to a curtain. So what the law says, let's lift the curtain and actually see who is the person who has done some kind of fraud or manipulation or misinterpretation of the documents or of the procedure in the company, and that particular person can be held liable for the same. And that is the term which has been stated in your lifting of corporate veil. Now, coming to the part of your formation of the company, Now that is very important. A company can be incorporated by any person. Now that person can be called to be as a promoter of the company. Now he is the person who actually does the initiative work, right from incorporating to raising capital to getting the certificate from the ROC, and finally handing over the particular business in the name of any other person who is wanting to purchase, or even the promoter himself can continue with his activities, and even later on that particular business can be sold off by the promoter. So promoter is the person who will be initially liable for all those activities he is doing in the name of the company. Now promoters are also the persons who are proceduring, moving to the your ROC and carrying out all those activities that is required to be completed, right from the framing of the memorandum of association to articles of association, or even for conducting the first meeting, that is your statutory meeting or your general AGM. Moving ahead, let's discuss something about your classification of companies or the types of companies. Now basically your classification of the companies can be headed under your three initial headings, that is your chartered companies, your statutory companies, and your registered companies. Now no doubt I am going to give many of the different types of companies, but very much well recognized and you must be knowing about these companies are your public company and private company. But let's see what are the other companies which are been there under your statutory company, your chartered company, and your registered company. Now coming to the first part of your chartered company. Now chartered company, it is nothing but your company which was being run by during the times of emperors and kings. Over that time, each particular company was being initiated and was taken care by the kings or the queens, and during that time, each time they was getting registered, they were being registered through a charter, through a kind of a role which was being initiated by these kingships and the lordship rules, and that's why it was being called to be as a chartered company. Now one of the example is your East India Company can also be called to be as a chartered company. Now when we are talking about your statutory companies, these are the companies being framed by the government or any other statute, law, or the rules and regulation. For that example, I can be called as a RBI can be one of the example of your statutory company. Now moving ahead to the most part where the different types of companies are being there, that is your registered company. Now when we are talking about the registered company, that is your incorporated who are being under the name of your SEBI or any other stock market or the stock exchange board, then it is going to be as a registered company. Then it is having as per the constitution, as per the liability, as per your control and others. So when I am talking about as per your constitution, it can be your dormant company or your one person company, private company, your public company, and small companies. Now one of the most important, you must have heard about the other companies, that is private or your public or a small company, but let's discuss something about your one person company. Now this particular concept of one person company has been initiated in your amendment made by your 2013 Act only. Earlier there was no such rule regarding your one person company, but now even one single person can start a company, and that is called to be having a one person company. Now generally what is the rule for a company? In case of a private company, minimum number members are 2 and maximum are 200. Earlier which was your 50, but now it has been raised to 200. For your public company, minimum number of members are 7 and maximum is unlimited. But now with this particular concept of one person company, even a one single person can start with his own company, which has to be registered. Now coming to the next part, when I am talking about the liability can be your guaranteed liability, limited liability, and unlimited liability. Guaranteed means to say how much I have guaranteed, for that much amount I will be required to pay for the same. Limited only to the limited value of your shares. Unlimited, even whatever is going to be the liability in the end during the time of winding up, that will be my final liability. When I'm talking about the control can be a foreign company, a government company, holding company, or a subsidiary company, where majority of the holdings are being done by any particular foreign person. It will be called as foreign company. when the majority 51% of the shares are holded by the government, that is either your state government or central government, it will be called to be as a government company. Holding company can also be called as a parent company, where one particular company is holding the sister concern of another company. A company is having or has been invested in the B company, then A company will be called as holding company and B company will be called as your subsidiary company. Last part, your other companies can be your investing company, your non-trading company, or your producer company. Investment company, where the companies are just carrying out the business of investing in the rest of the companies, then it will be called as investing companies. When non-trading, which are not NGOs kind of, they are will called as non-trading companies formed for a particular purpose. And finally, the producer company, that is they are for a particular production or for a particular target or a particular manufacturing, then it will be called as your producing company. Now with this, we have finished up with the part of your incorporation of company. Thank you.